Hi, everybody. Hey Tim, how are you?
Hello, what's up? All good. How about you?
Good, good. Okay, cool. So Tim, thanks for joining us on the webinar.
Of
And hi,
course.
everyone. So my name is Joshua. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of HeyGen. So in today's webinar, we are going to share an inspiring customer journey, a story of creating a unique avatar and leveraging HeyGen to create successful video marketing strategy. So, um, having a video's marketing strategy in place will improve your marketing team's efficiency and lead to an unlimited possibility for creativity. So, a successful strategy will significantly reduce the time and expense associated with creating content in-house. So, yeah, today we are honored to have Tim here. So, Tim is one of um, the best video creator, video marketer I've ever met. So,
Oh,
um,
wow.
Tim
Okay.
is
I'll
coming
take that.
from Uniform. Yeah, Tim, do you want to give give the audience a quick intro about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I was actually quite excited to see what you would say about what Uniform does, but that's a tricky one, so I'll take it. So my name is Tim Benniks, and I work for a company called Uniform, and I am in the marketing team, but my title is Director of Developer Relations. So I'm essentially in charge of how do you market to developers. And developers tend to be people who don't like marketing. So what do you do to still make them happy and do conversion and things like that? And so I'm based in France. So for me, it's evening. I just had my dinner, which was then early because the stream is at the dinner time essentially. But I'm really excited to be here and talk a little bit about what we do for this developer relations stuff with video and marketing in this B2B space. Because at Uniform, we work in the same space as where you have things like headless CMSs or content management, or how do you assign a certain design to your data and make that accessible for people, but for developers, both developers and marketers and content creators. And so I won't go too deep in what the company does, but what you should know is that it's business to business marketing essentially.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, that's great. So, yeah, before we started the couple conversations, so Tim, do you mind we share some of the avatar videos that you have made
Of
before
course.
with the audience? So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
sure.
cool, awesome. So Joy, if you could help to share some of the link in the comments, so I think some of the audience can take a look at that. So I have to I have to say, Tim, actually very jealous that you have such amazing avatar. I think even the avatar you have is even better than mine.
Oh
So
no. We
it
should
is
get you a
true.
better one then. You're the
Yeah,
CEO,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, so I'm working with Joy to get a better one. But anyway, so yeah, you guys can check out the link from the comment section, and I guess we can get started with a couple of interviews. So here,
Sure.
yeah, Tim, the first question I would have is that, you know, mm, what would be the most significant problem or pain point you have faced in the video marketing content creation process, actually?
Well, what we're seeing is that we have learned, and in our space especially, that video really converts well for people. People tend to enjoy it. It gives you joy when you watch them, and then you might want to check out what you're doing, because sometimes people just scroll by in a feed and they see a video and they do something with it rather than just some text, right? So we know that if we have a good idea, we repurpose it and we do a lot of different types of video. And so the essential problem is just time and resource, literally. Like I've noticed now the
Hmm.
consistency of doing more
Hmm.
is actually almost more important than what's in the video. And of course, what's in the
Mm,
video needs to be correct and it needs to be good. But the fact that you have lots of it in the right
hmm.
direction to the right audience is very, very important. And then, so it's time and resources. But what that also means is I cannot have a colleague of mine be me and make a video for me. I literally need to clone myself. And I guess you know where this is going, right? But
Yeah.
I need more of me to be able to do it. And also, the nature of being in a product company means product updates. We literally release every day. Documentation changes, resources change. Videos are out of date in like a month. So sometimes it's been very nice rather than to reshoot that they can just change the script and we're good again. And so time and resource for sure. And then one last thing I also thought about is like what you actually want to do is for certain groups personalize your video, right? Mention their brand, mention their types of customers, and you can of course do this. But I'm a team of one, right? I don't have the resource in a reasonable time frame to actually personalize video for different audiences.
Makes
So there you
sense. Got it. Got it. So it's time and resource, and meanwhile, it gives us an ability to like personalize that. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, that's great. So I think when you mentioned, I think definitely in uniform space, it's definitely, I think, probably one of the most fast-pacing industry that you guys are in. You need to like
Exactly.
update the documentation every day, right? I think
Yeah.
we have seen some similar pain points on our product as well. We also
Okay.
release like we do not release every day, but we kind of release like weekly, bi-weekly.
Yeah,
So
the amount of new features you guys put out is crazy, and they're all good.
yeah.
They're not full of bugs. And I'm at a place where we do the same, so I know how you feel about that. And yeah, you need to be able to somehow market that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also we create a lot of like those like tutorial videos on YouTube, right? Yeah, definitely some of them are already outdated. But yeah, if I can create using the avatar to do that, it's easy to using
Yep.
HeyGen to just make some updates or maybe even update some of the screenshot like screen recording over there. Yeah. So cool. Yeah. And then another thing, Tim. So you mentioned you would like to have a way, have your colleagues or your team to actually be able to use you as the person to create a video. Like, is that because you are being the brand ambassador or the identity person of uniform? And how does it work today?
Well, there's a few different approaches here. I'm not the only prolific person at that company that speaks for the company. We have
Mm-hmm.
founders in the same
Mm-hmm.
position as you that also will do video. And we
Mm-hmm.
also have a few other people like our enablement and our SDRs. And for the
Mm-hmm.
people who don't know, SDRs are people that either deal with inbound prospects that might want to buy your product, or they reach out to specific people, and having
Mm-hmm.
video for them is amazing, right? Or they need a personalized video. So, and they tend to have very specific ideas of about what they want to say. If they can just use me then to do that, that works
Mm-hmm.
really well because I've done this for a while. In the space where I work, I've been there for a long time and people know me. So when they
Mm-hmm.
see my face and I say something that has a base trust, and then of course you have to say smart things, otherwise it doesn't work. But at least having this base trust, you can reuse that, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I want my colleagues to make a completely new video from scratch with me, because that
Mm-hmm.
might go slightly off in what how I would say certain things, right? But if an
Mm-hmm.
edit needs to happen, I don't want to have to re-record. I just want to send my colleague in and say, hey,
Mm-hmm.
this terminology has changed now. So while
Mm-hmm.
I do a live stream with HeyGen like this, I want my colleague
Mm-hmm.
to then update the script and re-render the video, and then we're good to go. So
Makes sense.
in the end, if you're in a startup that's Series A and you want to run fast, do more in
Mm-hmm.
parallel. And the more in
Mm-hmm.
parallel you can do, the more you can just test more, see what
Mm-hmm.
sticks better, which messaging works. Because in a young company, you can still have messaging that doesn't work, and you just go to the next time and try it again. Well, if you can
Mm-hmm.
try it on a few different places at the same time, why not?
Got it. Got it. Actually, you mentioned one very interesting concept that tests out whether the messaging work. I want to go deeper on that, but before that, like, so could you share about, it's possible, could you share about what would be the video strategy, um, or the content strategy you guys are running? Like, could you provide an overview of that?
Well, what I can definitely do that in the scope of the
Mm-hmm.
marketing and then also the developer related stuff that's what I'm doing, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
generally what we have noticed is that when you do one-off videos,
Mm-hmm.
they can work, but it's not guaranteed. And so what we tend to do now is we have bigger ideas that are overarching for our product and that
Mm-hmm.
can either be related to a campaign we're starting,
Mm-hmm.
like, or perhaps like a new product release.
Mm-hmm.
And then so we have ideas about how to talk about a certain campaign. Like
Mm-hmm.
for HeyGen, it could be no more camera, no more team is needed.
Mm-hmm.
Do it all with an avatar. That's actually your campaign. That's a great slogan, and you run from there. And then what we do is we have one good idea, and then
Mm-hmm.
we make a few content pieces that really explain that idea, and then repurpose everything. So
Mm-hmm.
make shorter clips, make longer videos, make
Mm-hmm.
thought leadership pieces written, but also make them spoken, do live streams, do webinars, teaching things, and then bring it all back with the same themes and maybe even in enablement and outreach by the SDRs. And
Mm-hmm.
so the main idea is that everything you do fits in a certain journey that we want
Mm-hmm.
our customers to potentially go into. And in
Mm-hmm.
our case, that could be okay, you have an old system and you want to go into the modern world with a more composable system towards how you make content management work. Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
an old to new track. Another track could be you already
Mm-hmm.
have a new system, but you didn't do it right and you're stuck. How can you
Mm-hmm.
then fix that? Well, that's another one. Or some are much closer to how marketers feel when they work. When something is really complicated, how do we make it simpler? Or on the
Mm-hmm.
developer track, that's more for me, is you have coded everything together and it's really quite tight and you cannot move forward anymore. How do you fix it? So there's all these themes we want
Mm.
people to go into, and then we make great pieces of content that fit in there, and then we repurpose.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Got it.
That's the
So
approach.
got it. So if I understand correctly, you have multiple theme and which may be representing multiple campaign, right?
Yeah,
And usually for even for one theme, you could have multiple iteration of messaging and you're going to test out for the market. And I think
sometimes, yes.
the other day we were talking about how we can improve the messaging on the product messaging stuff. Yeah, so I think that's a pretty good idea, you know. And yeah, so and video is kind of like the essential pieces of that campaign. Like you create that, and then you guys like have the team, everybody to.
Well, interestingly, the essential piece is the why. So there's a little
Mm,
story, there's like a paragraph. And then
mm-hmm,
of course, we have great product marketing people that know how to write these lines.
mm-hmm,
Like, I don't know, specific stuff about being able to be faster to build a website in our space,
mm-hmm,
right? And so we have the concept, we write down a
mm-hmm,
paragraph, we write down a few sentences that really do that, and then they go on our homepage, and then they
mm-hmm,
go in our outreach email. And then from that, having this theme, then you can
mm-hmm,
suddenly start to make different types of videos, because a video can be a little tutorial about a feature that fits in that theme, but it can
mm-hmm,
also be a thought leadership piece that doesn't even mention the brand, but it talks
mm-hmm,
about the problem of what you might have. And that
mm-hmm.
that might be a bridge into some other things about what I do, because when you market to developers specifically,
Mhm.
they don't really like all the buzzwords, and especially not mentioning the brand too much, because they don't
Mm.
want to be sold a brand. They want to understand what's the problem and
Mhm.
how do I solve it in my context, and do I
Mhm.
like the person or the company and what they stand for, like how are they represented, what is their perception.
Mhm.
um, and so that's really my place, is okay, how do I make a video that is not just shouting evangelism, use this, use this, use this. Developers will just go away, they will not like that.
Mm.
So you
Okay.
tend to speak more about what are the problems in the space and how might you solve it. And then
Mm.
I am the person that represents that company. And they know that about me because I'm a public facing figure. And then they
Mhm.
might figure out, hey, where does this person work? Let's check that out. And I use
Mhm.
that to the max. Like I even did a conference talk where I play guitar on stage, but I built a guitar karaoke system in the
Mhm.
browser. So all the technology that I used in the browser to do karaoke with my guitar live on stage in front of like 1,500 people, used the technology where I work.
Mm-hmm.
And that gave more conversion than anything saying the word I work at Uniform.
Got
Right?
it.
So you need to find that balance a little bit.
Yeah.
And video
Makes
goes in many directions with that.
makes sense. Makes sense. Cool. So that's great. So yeah, let's switch back to the other question
Yeah,
about
sorry, I went
AI.
fast.
Oh no, it's definitely okay. So let's switch back to the AI, right? So Tim,
Yeah,
I think you have been expressing testing out a lot of different AI tools in this area, not only
I have.
HeyGen, but definitely a lot of them. Yeah, let me ask a simple question like this. Tim, will AI replace you?
Oh,
Or
that's a interesting question, isn't it? Because it
mm-hmm,
probably will, even though I don't like that. It's
mm-hmm,
you know what? There's so many like podcasts now that talk about what AI will do and how we underestimate it now already.
mm-hmm,
Imagine how far HeyGen has come in like 6 months.
mm-hmm,
It's almost not imaginable how fast that went and how good it is. And so I think it will,
hmm,
but it might not have all the context that I have in my history and my humanity towards how other people think about how I speak about things. You know what? I might say that now. I said something like this when we had GPT 3.5 and then 4.0 came out and everything I said was invalidated. That's in the space of a week. So I'm going to stay away a little bit from mentioning all that stuff. What do you think, personally, being much closer to the stuff than I am?
yeah. I think it would definitely replace some component of the work that we are doing, but it also create new possibilities. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's generally my view, right? Like for example, it definitely replaced my job in terms of like filming the video for the company, for the
Mhm.
product release, for product tutorial. Saves me tons of time. I used to still do the voice recording myself because that voice clone is not to that level yet. But
Yeah.
we have a new voice clone version now. It's actually pretty good,
Oh, I
and
cannot wait.
yeah, you should try that. But I no longer need to do the voice recording anymore. So yeah, I think things are evolving towards that direction. But meanwhile,
Yeah.
we create more possibilities, more work, right? In terms of someone actually need to do more videos and do strategy thinking, do prompt engineering and stuff like that. Yeah, that's my
Exactly.
general view. Yeah.
Yeah, just you need to learn about how to use it to make it best of it, essentially. Because, like, my whole career, I've been a coder, and I'm
Hmm.
generally working on the front end side of things. So, building how your
Hmm.
website looks, behaves, and works. When you click add to basket, I've built that.
Hmm.
That stuff, when it stabilizes a bit more, because you can see now there's lots of technical frameworks out there now for coding that become so feature rich, it's almost normalized, and
Hmm.
almost everybody can now just take one of these frameworks and build an amazing experience. I come
Hmm.
from the time where nothing existed and we had to invent it, right?
Hmm.
Well, now that these frameworks are here and they all have kind of normalized how things work, the
Hmm.
performance is all there, accessibility is all there. If an AI model starts to learn how to use these frameworks or choose the right framework for its benefit or whatever, that
Hmm.
kind of work, the relatively simple stuff, it will be gone. And so we just need to be
Yeah.
able to use it. And because this is what you always see in my space, where people spend a lot of time building, configuring, coding, and not as
Hmm.
much time on telling the story. What if you
Hmm.
didn't have to code as much and you could spend all your time on telling the story? You're going to get a
Hmm.
lot better campaigns, better conversion, better personalization. It will just all be better.
Makes sense. Yeah, definitely. Cool. And so I think come back to HeyGen. So Tim, how are you using Hey? Like, I kind of want to understand a bit more about the use cases aspect of things, right? So
Sure.
could you talk about how are you using HeyGen in like which area that you're using, and also in the future, what are the areas that you think marketers can use HeyGen for their use case?
Well, I think starting with what I'm doing now, which is
Mm-hmm.
still relatively simple but with big impact.
Mm,
Especially like I just mentioned, right? We have this theme that fits in a certain swim lane, let's say, and we come up with the content, and then we need to make smaller chunks within that.
mm-hmm.
And a recent video, I think that was posted in the chat here, was
Mm-hmm.
one where we have this talking track called Headless 2.0, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now we have software as a service software that doesn't have front end development needs. It's just data that comes out. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to go too deep into the tech because I know not everybody in the stream is super technical in the space
Mm-hmm.
that I am. They probably are in AI and stuff. But anyways, so we came up with a thing we called Headless 2.0, the new way of doing it. Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
one of those talk tracks, right? And so I had to come up with a thing that was one where I really talked about how uniform does that, how it all fits in. And then I had to make a video or a talk track about the general problems we see with the 1.0 version, how you might potentially fix it. Um, those kind of things are literally talk tracks that I need to make videos on that
Mm-hmm.
teach people in the space about thought leadership. So that's
Mm-hmm.
one. But then
Yeah.
when you talk more about the marketing side of things and just having the content out there in different ways, because my colleague Mickey is actually in the chat, and what
Mm-hmm.
he's saying is like some people just don't like reading blogs, right? Even if it's only 800 words. Well, what
Mm-hmm.
we could do is actually make a script using some AI tool from blog to video script and then push it into HeyGen and make a video on it in 1 minute,
Mm,
right? Stuff like that. Or I have also have things where, let's say I'm speaking at a conference, and I do that all the time. I spoke at one today, even before this, and then we had a live stream and stuff like that.
mm-hmm.
People scroll by on their LinkedIn feed, on their Twitter feed, stuff like that, and what they respond to are videos. If I could make like 16 tiny videos of like 2 sentences that say, "Hey, I'm Tim. I work at Uniform and I speak here about blah blah blah," that
Mm-hmm.
converts a lot better than writing a post and having an image. So
Mm,
there's all these smaller things that you can put in place that you then don't have to record all the time, but it's just there. And you make an update and then there's another video. So that's kind of how we use it now. But for
mm-hmm.
the future, I have bigger plans. I think there's a
Mm,
lot more we can do. And this goes slightly outside of the scope of marketing. Well, it's
mm-hmm.
still marketing. You could call it different things, but like at Uniform, we are moving a little bit more into the direction of sales-led growth, which
Mm-hmm.
means we know our target audience,
Mm-hmm.
we know a customer, and we are tailoring our sales process to that customer. Well, with that comes onboarding specific to them. There's enablement, teaching them about features specific to them. So,
Mm-hmm.
what that means is you can make courses with slides behind and a narrator in front with an Avatar Pro, for example, behind with a green
Mm,
screen that
yeah.
explains certain things specifically to them.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be awesome if you can, after a meeting, send them an email with a video about a feature talking to them from the person that just had that meeting with them?
Mm,
Right? So you can kind of personalize these things for people. And then if a script needs to change, you can just switch it up for another customer or maybe different features, or maybe a feature was updated. Imagine we do a product release that is big enough to warrant a press release or something. Well, why don't
mm-hmm.
you make 20 different videos for a different customer with slightly different context and just send it out as an email blast? That's
Mm-hmm.
perfect. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
one end. And then on the other side, there's something called SDR. So
Mm-hmm.
these are basically, yeah, I don't want to butcher the term because it's not my actual job, but my colleague Natalie is amazing at it. And so essentially,
Mm-hmm.
what she's doing is she has a bunch of people that understand the market, and they
Mm-hmm.
know with this product that we have, this part will speak to these 5 companies, and they have
Mm-hmm.
these specific problems. And what they do is they either do outreach to
Mm-hmm.
specifically say, I probably know you have this problem, let me make a video for you specifically to you with your
Chef.
problem, and then
Yeah.
explain that. And then
Mm-hmm.
because video gets conversion, right? And they
Yeah.
also sometimes deal with inbound and figure out these people need these kind of things. Let me now make a chain of a few emails that all have a video talking specifically to a subject. Well, that personalization is going to win the game in the future. And we can
Yeah,
use HeyGen for all of it.
makes sense. Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, when you mentioned the
Exactly.
SDR and also the onboarding pieces, yeah, I get the same feeling. Um, you know, um, we are actually planning to send out unique onboarding video
Yeah, why
with
not, right? It's
my
perfect.
avatar, and
Yeah.
it can tell us specific to that person, and I will be talking to them and welcome them to the platform, right? And another thing I think would be very related. I think a lot of SDR team member are using Room to actually
Yes,
communicate
exactly.
their
Exactly.
customers, right? So I think, yeah, one thing I'm thinking about. By the way, I also use a lot of Room like for customer support.
Same here. I think we have like 15 looms a day where at Uniform, maybe more. So
Wow,
we
wow,
use
that's
it all,
a
well,
lot of video.
internal, external, everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes, when sometimes people having some question about the API, I just did a room because it's just much easier, just like
Yeah.
a couple of minutes. But just imagine that if we can have a way to automate that, right? So it would be my avatar, and I just like do some typing and just like send it all the way down to the CRM system. Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Exactly. And you know what? Even for the future, you could even think further where you can use your API to write something to the API, and in real time, my avatar says that to someone. Like
Yeah.
this is chatbot 2.0, right? It's pretty
Yeah.
interesting stuff.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. And cool. So my last question would be, Tim, how is your audience reaction to the avatar? Do they love it? Do they even know there's an avatar? Yeah.
It's really interesting, right? It's pure magic. Like there's let's say there's two real reactions in the outside world, and there's one that's my wife that says your eyes are not the same. Yeah, of course, you know me so well. Of course my eyes are not exactly the same. And you know what? They might be. But she just thinks, hey, this is AI, so this is different. But let's put that one on the side. So
Mm-hmm.
either people don't know it's an AI
Mm-hmm.
and they're totally fine just consuming the content, or
Mm-hmm.
they do know it and they're like, this is too good to be true, what's happening to the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are like both of those, and it's just very interesting to see where even my colleague Mickey, who's in the chat here, I made this video about this headless 2.0 thing, and I sent
Mm-hmm.
it to him in the morning. He just was on his phone, watched it, and like, okay, that's just a cool video, and then done, nothing else. And I just poked him a little bit, like, watch it again. I said, yeah, it's fine. So this was my avatar, right? And so if you
Yeah.
make it like, and there's a few things maybe I'd love to talk about a little bit about, features that I might want, but I'm not sure how that would work yet, because if you actually look
Mm-hmm.
at this avatar and you see it talk for like 5 minutes, you
Mm-hmm.
will pick out that it's not real yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because in between sentences it might move its head away. You might not do that because that's just the
Yeah.
model learning, right?
Yeah.
I imagine if you throw another week at it, it's better. But that's another thing. But what would be very interesting, and I'm not sure how that would be possible, but to
Mm-hmm.
have an Avatar Lite where in the script you can say emote like this, and then a sentence later emote like that. The moment you
Mm.
get a bit more control over when do I move my hands? When do my eyes light up? When do I smile more? The moment you can do more of that and you can control it in the script,
Mm-hmm.
it's unbeatable.
Makes sense. Yeah, we definitely. So, yeah, this is why I mentioned, Tim, you have a avatar that made me jealous. I think your avatar is really good.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, yeah. Coming back to your feedback. Yeah, we are working on that. Yeah, exactly like you said. We want to bake the like the gesture, the movement control
Mhm.
into the text so that it just make it seamless, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Um, I guess that's it. So thank you very much, Tim, on joining us today. So I guess last pieces we will probably take a couple of questions from the audience, and then yeah. So let me see what
Yeah,
question.
I saw one here. What are the 3 top feedback points on a digital avatar? I think we kind of talked about that already. Like what percentages
Yeah.
of people didn't think it was a real human. I think when
Mm-hmm.
you tell people, they'll all see it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you
Yeah.
don't, and like we did a few very interesting tests where I speak at one conference all the time for the last few years, and they have thousands of followers. And we just made an Instagram reel with like fun edits and zoom ins and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
just talking about what my job is.
Mm-hmm.
And he sent it out to all these people, and
Mm-hmm.
nobody replied, "Hey, this is weird. There's an uncanny valley here." Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
So
Makes
it can
sense.
work.
Got it. Got
Yeah,
it.
and I see a fun question here about the uncanny valley in HeyGen. And you know what?
Mm-hmm.
If you do it right with your Avatar Lite,
Mm-hmm.
the uncanny valley is gone. But you
Mm-hmm.
really need to know how to make this avatar recording, and then the
Mm.
model will just be good enough. But I've had a few avatars where you definitely see the uncanny valley, and it's like the dead
Mm-hmm.
stare sometimes when you pause and you look too much in the camera, or the lips are a little bit awkward. That's because I was looking down when I was saying something.
Yeah.
After all your feedback, I made my own. Like after that, I really took my posture and then very calculated. And you can see it's a little calculated. That's true. So
Uh-huh.
but the uncanny valley is kind of gone now. So
Uh-huh.
the one thing I would do right now to kind of hack it is actually make 3 avatars identical, looking like this right now. One
Mm-hmm.
where I move my hands a lot, one where I
Mm-hmm.
really smile, bright eyes and everything, and one where I'm really serious, and then
Mm-hmm.
record a video script with the 3 avatars, and then just on my MacBook cut and paste the different chunks. I think if I do
Mm.
that, you can probably not tell it's fake.
I see. Interesting. Hmm.
Yes, I'm just hacking
I,
your system already. It's just a little
y-
costly to do it that way, but you can definitely do it, I think.
yeah, that may actually work. Yeah, interesting. So I haven't thought about it actually. But I think you mentioned one thing. Like I think one of the audience asked about whether we already lives, uncanny valley, right? So yeah, I'm really confident that we are. Um, yeah, there's no uncanny valley problem. Um, if we do it right, but
Yeah.
it is really hard to do it right now. It is some of the problem we need to solve as a company.
Well,
Um,
and do you think you need more time in the model, or do you need better source material?
I don't think we need more time. We just like need a better source material.
Okay.
Like for example, we definitely cannot have the footage just to look down or look that way, something like that. Yeah. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's all good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you see some strange things sometimes when you speak and then a sentence is done, or before I start speaking, my head does this, and then it starts speaking. That's just because this was
Yeah.
one of my mannerisms
Yeah.
in another timing. And so
Yeah.
it needs to start learning, I guess, when does this person do that and in what context? And that's
Hmm.
just really hard to know. If the source material doesn't actually tell the model this, it's almost impossible.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. Cool. And I guess another question from the audience was asking about the voice clone being the American accent. Yeah. So, yeah, Brad, could you send us an email? We have a new version now. I can connect the team with you to give it a try. So it will have the ability to mimic your accent. I think Tim, you want to try that
Oh,
out
I
as well?
really want this because now
Yeah.
I overdub all my videos.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that before as well. Cool.
Yeah,
Um,
because we are not very American in that sense. We have accents, so there you go.
yeah. Yeah. Brett, please make sure to send us an email. I will connect you from the to the team. And yeah, and then another question is about how about improving Spanish speaking voice model. Um, yeah, that's we definitely keep improving the voice model, but specifically what aspect of the Spanish speaking model you're talking about? Yeah, if you can send us an email follow up, we can follow up with you. Yeah. So, and then the last question would be: are these people real or AI avatars? Tim,
In
are
a
you
year,
real?
it's all AI avatars.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, for sure, we are definitely real here, but I kind of like thinking about, because I'm in the space, in the future, it may not matter that much whether it's me or my avatar joining the webinar or
Mm,
doing the video, right? So because my avatar will be as good as as good as looking at me as realistic as it could be, and
yeah,
meanwhile, he would be able to actually consume all my thinking, all the contents that I put out there, and then he kind of like is a digital clone of me. Yeah. So so I think that would be very interesting to see what will
but
happen in the next. Yeah.
how would you answer this one then? Because for
Sure.
me personally, how I work, I
Hmm.
have a ton of experience in speaking for cameras and doing all that stuff, and lots of it is on gut feel. How I
Hmm.
feel that day, or whatever questions you ask me, will an
Hmm.
AI be able to cover my ups and downs that I constantly have? So,
Mm.
if so, it needs a lot of data. It needs to know
Yeah.
about my life, because
Hmm.
how can it know on gut feel? Sometimes I have a different answer to the same question 2 weeks in between because I feel differently. And
Hmm.
so I'm wondering if it can get that far, because
Mm.
it probably will. Let's be honest, right?
Hmm. Yeah. So I think it will actually, in my opinion, like from the technology standpoint, right? If you look at GPT, um, it kind of have some gut feel as well. The answer is like
Mm,
not the same, right, every time. It really depends on uh like his the time you send it, and the next time you do it again, it will be different. And you look at the voice technology, they are they are true as well. Like
yeah,
you have your voice clone. Basically, not every time the input you will get exactly the same output. They are just different as well. And if
that's
we try
crazy
to
good
put
already.
if we try to put this on the timeline, right? So the text, audio, and the next thing is gonna be video very soon, right? Um, and it's just like some randomization over there. And if we have enough data, I think it would be able to incorporate some of
Yeah.
the like the gut feel that you personally have. Yeah. So yeah, that would be very interesting to see what will happen in the next like 6 months. Yeah, things
Well,
change very
imagine,
fast.
right? Like the Tim Ferriss podcast, the super famous ones, or like a few other ones. I imagine within a year they'll be interviewing AIs that have their own personality. What do you think?
Wow, that would be very cool.
But then
Yeah,
we need an AGI first, probably.
yeah.
I'm not sure, but
I don't know. Like I think the crazy thing I think about is like this, Tim. It's like if I'm gonna have my avatar to have a meeting with you, right? And you don't need to meet with me. We can just let your avatar meet with my avatar,
no.
right? Um, and their conversation that doesn't have to be half an hour. It could be 1 second. They talk about everything they need,
Oh, this is crazy, man.
right? It's just like doing the knowledge transfer. And then
But
he can
yeah,
then come back to talk to explain to me, okay, what I learned from Team's avatar. Um, and then
yeah.
something like that.
But we
It will be
already
very crazy.
It's crazy, but we already see some of this, right? You see somebody who wants to write a big email. So they go to copy.ai, which is
Mhm.
one of the partners you guys have, I think. Then
Yeah.
you ask them, write me an in this our company language, write me an
Hmm.
email like this. They will.
Hmm.
So that email is sent. And then the person receiving it will also go to copy AI, paste that
Hmm.
email and say, write this to me in a few, bullet points in whatever they really meant. Like that transformation is constantly happening already. Imagine if
Yeah.
that is made simpler, it's going to be great. But
Yeah,
will
definitely.
people ever really write and read something properly anymore? I don't know. It might not be
Hmm.
needed.
Hmm. Cool. Yep.
Yeah, anyways,
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Thank you very much, Tim, for the time. It's a great
thank you.
conversation. Yeah. Enjoy talking to you today. So, lastly, for all the audience, please feel free to fill in the form, and you can earn a 5-minute gift credits about HeyGen. Yeah. So I guess that's it. So see you guys next week. Tim, have a good night.
You too. Cheers. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Cool. Bye bye.